Okay, this is lecture number 2 of this phase transformation in materials course. And these are the menus of today's lecture. Why a phase undergo transformation, thermodynamics equilibrium concept, potential well and ball positions showing different equilibrium condition. And the last one is the free energy calculation. Calculation of entropy, enthalpy for the system using specific heat, CP, right? So as I told in the previous lecture, that this phase transformation subject is very important, and this subject is linked with introduction to physical metallurgy as well as with the thermodynamics, right? Metallurgical thermodynamics, obviously. Okay, so this is the first content. Why a phase undergo transformation? So this is a simple question people ask. Why should a phase will change or phase will undergo transformation? The answer is also very simple. The answer is what? If that particular phase become unstable. Why it may become unstable? Because if we are changing the temperature or we are changing the pressure parameter of the system, the phase may not remain stable in that particular condition of temperature and pressure. So if that means the phase become unstable, and once the phase become unstable, it will not remain. It will transform into some other phase, right? Which and that other phase will be remain stable in that condition of temperature and pressure, right? So phase will undergo transformation if the phase become unstable under a certain condition of temperature and pressure parameter, right? Second is there is a concept of equilibrium, right? Which already have studied in metallurgical thermodynamics and kinetics, right? So concept of equilibrium will help you to tell, because it tells about whether a phase will be stable or whether a phase will be metastable or whether a phase will be unstable under certain condition, right? So that means we have, that means we can have phase which is a unstable phase, we can have a phase which is metastable phase, we can have a phase which is completely stable phase, right? Under certain conditions, under certain given conditions. That given condition is temperature and pressure, right? So concept of equilibrium will help you to identify that. So now if you remember, okay, fine, anybody remember any phase in the steel which is metastable one? Consider the steel now is a like it is a thermodynamic system. Now your steel is now a thermodynamic system, okay? Now can anybody tell me which phase is a metastable phase and which phase is a stable phase in our steel or in iron carbon system?
Martensite.
Martensite, very good. So Martensite is a which kind of, stable or metastable?
Metastable.
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 Very good. That can be justified by looking at the iron carbon phase diagram, right? In iron carbon diagram, iron carbon phase diagram is the equilibrium phase diagram. That's why we call equilibrium phase diagram. That means the phase which remains are basically stable or they are basically metastable, but they are not unstable, right? So, and it forms by slow cooling of the steel from the higher temperature, basically. Anyways, so martensite is one of the metastable phase. So martensite, okay. Any other phase? Any other metastable phase in the iron carbon phase diagram? Otherwise, cementite. You have to remember cement. That's why we called iron carbon phase diagram as iron cementite metastable phase diagram, because cementite is a metastable phase. It is not exactly a stable phase, right? So metastable phase, anybody remember what exactly metastable phase means from the introduction to physical metallurgy class?
May not stay for long period.
Yeah. See, if a phase is unstable, that means it will not remain. It will suddenly undergo transformation. But if a phase is metastable, it doesn't mean it will undergo transformation quickly. It may transform after a long period of time. That means that metastable phase may remain for a long period of time. But if you change the parameters slowly, or you change a minimum change in parameters will be there, like change in pressure, temperature, it may transform, right? But stable phase means basically it remains forever, right? So best example is, as I told, cementite, which is Fe3C, which is orthorhombic structure, basically. That is a metastable phase, and martensite is also a metastable phase, right? And sometimes benite is, you can say it is also metastable, but martensite is basically a metastable phase. Okay, fine. And okay, we'll see that soon. So there is a line, there is a change in phase, or there is a phase transformation occurs because system is away from equilibrium condition. So this line is very important. That means if you are taking the system away from the equilibrium conditions, then the system may undergo phase transformation. So system wants to be in equilibrium, so that there will be phase transformation occurs. So that means if the suppose a system is in equilibrium condition, right? You take the system away from the equilibrium condition now, right? So in that condition, the system will transform. The system always wants to be in equilibrium, basically. There is another statement. The equilibrium can be metastable or stable one. That is another important point. Suppose you have a system now, and that system is in equilibrium condition, for example. Let it be a system which is in equilibrium condition. You take the system away from the equilibrium, or that is, you can say non-equilibrium condition, for example. Let it be. What happens after some times, the system again come back to the equilibrium condition, and that equilibrium may be metastable equilibrium or stable equilibrium. That means always a system never remain in stable equilibrium. It sometimes try to remain in metastable equilibrium. It is okay. Can anybody give an example of stable phase, at least in iron carbon system or in steel? A stable phase in room condition, room temperature condition, in 1 atmospheric condition.
So ferrite.
Ferrite, very good. Ferrite. Ferrite is one of the stable phase. Very good. Now this is a very good figure. Just look at this figure, and your concept will be very clear in this. See, this figure will show you whether the system is in unstable equilibrium, or whether the system in the metastable equilibrium, or whether the system is in stable equilibrium. As I told, we can have 3 equilibrium: stable, metastable, unstable, right? So I have taken an object. So this is the same object. These 3 images are showing the same object, but position of the object will decide whether the object is in metastable equilibrium, whether the object is in stable equilibrium, or whether the object is in unstable equilibrium. So the position of the object will decide. And the concept behind is, here the position means we are talking about center of gravity, and or in other way I am talking about the potential energy as well as the basically potential energy, or energy of the system. So energy of the system may vary with the position, or here I am talking about the center of gravity. Center of gravity changes with the change in the position of the system. If the system position change, center of gravity will change, and that will decide whether the system is in equilibrium, that means stable equilibrium, or metastable or unstable equilibrium, right? So suppose, consider this as an trolley bag. All of you have seen a trolley bag, right? If you want, I can show you in the real situation. Just give me a second. Just look at this trolley bag, right? I think it is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir, visible.
Yeah, right. So just have a look. In this position, this trolley bag, and let me change the position of the trolley bag right now. Sorry. Let it be the second position of the trolley bag. Is it visible?
Yes,
The trolley
sir.
bag is now in the tilted condition, right? And what I am doing right now, I am holding the trolley bag in this position. If I will release my hand, what will happen?
Fall down, sir.
So it will go to this position right now. Okay. Like this is the third position. So again, I am showing you this is the first position of the, sorry. Yeah, this is the first position of the trolley bag, right? This is in the vertical condition and it is fine. There is no problem, right? But if I will tilt it like this, I'm applying a force on this trolley bag, a small force, right? And if I release it, it will fall down like this. Okay, so am I audible right now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, fine. So just see. So this is the first. You can see trolley bag is in the vertical condition. Now trolley bag is in the tilted condition, and now trolley bag is in this horizontal conditions. So you can check the center of gravity. The center of gravity is here. How I have drawn the center of gravity? Just have a look. I have joined the diagonals. Where it cuts, it becomes the center of gravity. So center of gravity is like this now. And just when the trolley bag is in tilted condition, you check the position of center of gravity. And finally, when the trolley bag is in the horizontal condition, check the center of gravity. So can anybody figure it out what is happening to the center of gravity here? What is happening to the center of gravity of the same trolley bag at different positions? Vertical, tilted conditions, and horizontal condition.
So the center of gravity changes with different positions.
Very good. Excellent. So can anybody figure it out where it is minimum and where it is in the highest position and where it is in the intermediate position? From the ground, the center of gravity is where it is in a highest position, where it is in the lowest position, where it is in the intermediate position.
So highest in the
In
vertical
vertical.
and lowest in the horizontal.
Line
Sorry,
level.
can anybody repeat again?
So
Highest in the
highest in the vertical.
vertical. Okay. Anybody want to try?
Sir,
Sir,
highest in
lowest in
inclined
tilted
position.
condition.
Sorry.
Sir, highest in inclined position.
Highest in inclined position. Yeah, that is right. Just carefully look at the image. The center of gravity is maximum from the ground at this tilted condition, right? And minimum in the horizontal condition. And intermediate in the first vertical condition. Is it correct now?
Yes, sir.
So that means the most stable condition is this one. It is okay, the last one. Horizontal position of the trolley bag or horizontal position of this object. Because the center of gravity is close to the ground, right? But here the center of gravity is highest from the ground. The distance between the center of gravity and the ground is maximum here. So this is the most unstable condition, right? And what about this one? Can anybody figure it out? If this is the most stable condition and this is the most unstable condition, what is here?
This metastable.
Metastable condition. Very good. So that means by changing the position of this object, I have changed the center of gravity, and that leads to different equilibrium condition. So I can say first one is, this one is the metastable condition of the object. This one is the unstable condition of the object. And the last one is the stable condition of the object. Or this is the metastable equilibrium condition. This is unstable equilibrium condition. And this one, last one is the stable equilibrium condition. It is okay to everybody? Fine.
Yes.
Right? So this basically showing you mechanical equilibrium, right? This basically shows mechanical equilibrium, right? The same thing I can explain here also. Okay, fine. So can you tell me, okay, I'm done. Can you tell me that if I will keep my bag, trolley bag like this, shall it will be remain forever without any external force?
No, sir, it will fall with a little external force.
No, my question is, if there will be no external force, shall it will be remain
Yes,
forever
sir.
like this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The answer is yes, obviously. But if the trolley bag is in this condition, shall it will remain forever like this?
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
never. Without any external force also, it cannot remain, right? But what about this one? Shall it will remain forever in this position? Last one.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Again,
Yes, sir.
yes. Okay, fine. But this is okay to everybody. Now the next question is, if the position of the trolley bag is like this, or object is like this, if you apply any force, shall the position will change? Some little force you will apply.
No.
Never.
No, sir.
Obviously. Let me show you otherwise. Just have a look. This is the position of the trolley bag right now, right? The last one, horizontal position. Then now I am applying force to this. See, nothing is happening. The position remains same. Or I am applying force like this, but nothing is happening, right? But if this is the position, right, and I am applying a little load. Sorry, yeah. I am applying a little load right now. So it will fall down like this, okay? And okay, what about this one? If you apply a little load, it will fall, right? So the discussion is clear. That means the position of the object decides the mechanical equilibrium, right? And it tells about whether the system is in stable equilibrium condition or unstable equilibrium condition or metastable equilibrium conditions, right? So same thing happened to the, like, best example is cementite. As I told, cementite is a phase or a microstructure present in the steel. If cementite will be there in the steel, it will remain forever, for a long period of time. Nothing will happen to the cementite phase. But if you raise the temperature of the steel somewhat higher, you take the steel to suppose 300 degree, 400 degree, or 500 degree, or just above 600 degree, for example, then cementite will not remain as cementite. It will decompose quickly into iron and carbon, for example. Because it is Fe3C, it will decompose into stable phases, which is iron and carbon. That is graphite. Iron is a stable phase, carbon is a stable phase, right? Or iron or graphite is stable phase, but cementite is a metastable phase. That means if you will not provide any heat, then cementite will remain forever as, or not forever, for long period of time as cementite. It is okay? Fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next figure. This is another interesting figure. Just have a look. So you people now tell me, this is the figure of duster. And the bottom part is supposed table. On the table, duster is present in different positions. So quickly tell me, this position is showing which kind of equilibrium, this position is showing you which kind of equilibrium, and this position is showing you which kind of equilibrium. No.
So first one is metastable.
Very good.
One is
Unstable and
unstable.
stable.
Unstable, and last one is stable condition. Very good. That means if you apply a little load on it, it will fall down to this stable condition, right? But if you keep the duster like this, it will never remain. It will either come back to this position or it can go to this position. Let me repeat it again. Just understand it properly. If I will incline my duster like this on the table, two things may happen. Either it will come back to initial position or it may go to this position, right? So that means if you take the system to an unequilibrium condition or unstable equilibrium conditions, it may either go to the stable equilibrium condition, or it may either go to metastable equilibrium condition. Now the point is clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So same thing happens to the real systems like alloys or any material. If you take your material system to the unstable equilibrium conditions, it quickly come back to either metastable equilibrium condition, or it may goes to completely equilibrium condition or the stable equilibrium condition, right? So these things happens basically. Now thermodynamic equilibrium. Okay, okay. Let me ask you first, then I'll move. Anybody remember what is the meaning of thermodynamic equilibrium? Suppose I am saying my system is in thermodynamic equilibrium. What it means? At least you people should answer this one. Already you have gone through this thermodynamics and kinetics, metallurgical thermodynamics and kinetics. And this is not a very difficult question to ask. If I'm saying my system is in thermodynamic equilibrium right now, what it means?
The system
So
of surrounding is the
temperature
energy
and
exchange of
pressure
one form.
uniform.
Temperature and pressure uniform. Okay. Anything else?
Sir, the system must be chemical, mechanical and thermal equilibrium. मतलब mechanical,
Okay,
thermal,
fine.
chemical
Yeah,
equilibrium
yeah.
में होगा.
Yeah, you are somewhat right. You are close to the answer. See, if I'm saying my system is in thermodynamic equilibrium, that means it should justify that the system is in thermal equilibrium, the system is in chemical equilibrium, the system is in mechanical equilibrium. So these three equilibrium must be satisfied. If this three equilibrium is satisfying, that means my system is in thermodynamics equilibrium, right? So thermodynamic equilibrium is composed of these three equilibrium, right? Chemical, thermal, and mechanical. It is okay to everybody now? So what is the meaning of mechanical equilibrium? I have shown you this one. This is the figure showing mechanical equilibrium, right? This system is showing you the system is in mechanical equilibrium, this part. Same thing here. This is showing my system is in mechanical equilibrium, right? So what exactly it means? If I'm saying my system is in mechanical equilibrium, that means my system energy is in minimum condition. The system is possessing minimum energy right now. Minimum energy means here potential energy and kinetic energy, combination of potential and kinetic energy. It is okay? So mechanical equilibrium means total energy of the system is in minimum condition. I think it is clear to everybody.
Yes, sir.
So can you tell me in this figure which position is showing you maximum potential and which position is showing you minimum potential energy? Or total energy of the system is minimum, total energy of system is maximum in this figure. In
So
this
total
figure,
energy,
yeah,
total energy is maximum in the unstable state, the
very
tilted
good,
state,
very good.
and minimum in the stable state, horizontal state,
Yes, very
and
good. I think you
intermediate
people have
in the
understood. Your answer is right. So you understand, because higher is the distance of the center of gravity from the ground, it is possessing maximum potential energy. Yes or no?
yes, sir.
Right? Because potential energy mgh, if you remember, height. So higher is the height of this center of gravity from the ground, it is having higher potential energy, obviously, right? So I think it is clear to everybody what is mechanical equilibrium. Mechanical, if I'm saying my system is in mechanical equilibrium, that means my system is having minimum total energy. It possesses minimum potential energy right now, or minimum potential and kinetic energy right now. It is okay? Which I already have explained through the figures, right? Then what is thermal equilibrium now? Thermal equilibrium means if you measure the temperature everywhere in the system, okay, and you will see that everywhere the temperature is same in the system. Suppose I will take a piece of metal and I will measure the temperature everywhere, or if I will take a steel, that is iron carbon system, and I will measure the temperature everywhere, and I am seeing that my temperature is same everywhere in the steel, from the surface to the bottom or to the surface to the center of the steel, it is same everywhere. That means that system is in thermal equilibrium. So thermal equilibrium means there should not be any temperature gradient. That means with distance from the surface to the center or from one end to the other end of the system, there should not be any variation in temperature. The temperature must be same everywhere. So that is called thermal equilibrium. It is okay now? Suppose I will take a piece of steel and I measure the temperature at the surface of the steel is 25 degrees centigrade, and at the and from the center to the from the surface to the center everywhere it is 25, 25, 25. That means my steel is in thermal equilibrium right now because the temperature is same everywhere. There is no temperature gradient. But if the temperature of the surface of the steel is suppose 50 degree and the center is 25, then it is not in thermal equilibrium because temperature is different now. It is okay now? And last one is the chemical equilibrium, right? So chemical equilibrium means what?
So rate of forward reaction is equals to rate of backward reaction.
Yes, suppose in a system there is some reaction is going on, right? That means suppose you have A plus B reactant and they combine to give you C plus D. Then what is happening? The reaction is going on. That means A plus B reacts to give you C plus D, for example. A time will come when the rate of forward reaction will be equal to the rate of backward reaction, right? Or reverse reaction. That means reverse reactions means C plus D will react to give you A plus B. Forward reaction means A plus B will react to give you C plus D, right? Here A plus B are the reactants, C plus D are the products, right? So when the rate of forward reaction is equal to rate of backward reaction, in that condition, you can say your system is in chemical equilibrium. And in other way, you can say like if you measure the chemical potential of the elements or the solutes present and the chemical potential is same in the system everywhere, then you can call also the system is in chemical equilibrium. There is no problem to say like that. So chemical potential, if it is same everywhere for a particular components, then you can say your system is in now chemical equilibrium. For example, let me take an example of molten slag and molten metal. If you remember in the previous lecture, I told you what is molten metal and what is molten slag. Molten metal and molten slag both are in liquid phase. Both are different phase or same phase?
Different phase.
Different phase. Can you justify how it is different phase? Both are in liquid state. So how you can justify they are two different phase? On the basis of what?
Density.
On the basis of density, on the basis of immiscibility. If you mix slag with metal, they will remain immiscible always. They will again become two layers. If you have two liquids and you are mixing them and they are immiscible in one another, then they are considered to be two different phases. But the moment two liquids are mixing properly, you cannot say they are two different phases. You have to say they are single phase now. It is clear now?
Yes,
And
sir.
the point is, they should have different chemical composition also. The composition of slag is different from the composition of the molten metal. It is okay. Fine. So I think you people have understood what is thermodynamic equilibrium. So if a system will be in thermodynamic equilibrium, that means the system is already in chemical equilibrium and thermal equilibrium and is in mechanical equilibrium. It is okay? Fine. Okay, I was explaining about the slag and metal. Suppose in my slag, manganese is present in form of MnO, for example, and in the metal, I have Mn, manganese in form of Mn, right? And the chemical potential of manganese in metal and slag is same right now. So I can simply say my system is in chemical equilibrium because manganese will not move from slag to metal or metal to slag because of same chemical potential. Okay. I think it is clear to everybody. Okay, let me show you another interesting figure. This figure basically shows you potential well and different equilibrium conditions. Different equilibrium condition or non-equilibrium conditions. So this figure is showing you potential well. These are this is one potential well. 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 And these are the balls, you can say. This red black is the balls. So potential, each figure is showing you one potential well having the position of the ball, and the position of the ball in potential well will define the equilibrium condition or non-equilibrium conditions. Okay. Potential well means you can consider energy versus position. You're getting my point? You can take, like in the vertical axis, you can take what? You can take the position. You can take the energy. Okay, fine. You can take the energy in the vertical direction. In the horizontal, you can take the position, right? No problem. So it is basically energy versus position, right? So the position of the ball at a particular energy level will decide whether it is in stable equilibrium condition, whether it is in metastable equilibrium condition, whether it is in unstable equilibrium condition, or whether it is in not equilibrium condition. Okay. So the first figure, just look at the first figure. Can you tell me this figure is showing what exactly? The ball
Stable
is in
equilibrium.
stable equilibrium condition, right? How? If you take that means the ball will remain forever in this position, right? But even if you are applying any force, suppose I will applying a force and I will take my ball to this position and I will release my force, what will happen to the ball? It will fall back, right? It will again fall back to this point. And similarly, if I will take my ball to this position here and I will release the force, what will happen? It will again fall back to this initial position. So this position is showing you the stable equilibrium condition, right? And people technically sometimes call this as ball is in global minima. This kind of, suppose somebody will ask to draw a system showing global minima. So this is the figure showing you global minima. Minima means minimum. Globally, it is minimum. It is in the most stable equilibrium condition. And now look at this second image. This image. So this image is showing you metastable equilibrium, right? Can you tell me why this is in metastable equilibrium, but this is in stable equilibrium? Why this is metastable? Can you tell me? Can anybody tell me why this is metastable?
So with the application of a somewhat low force, the ball
Yeah.
will fall downward.
No. Not small force. Just have a look. If I will take my ball to this position, right? What may happen? It may either fall to this one or it may either fall to this one. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, if I will take my ball to this position, what may happen? Either the ball will come to this position and again go to this and come back to this one. Or if I will take to a higher position, what will happen? The ball will come back to first here, then it may cross over this one and go to this. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So that is why this kind of position is showing you metastable equilibrium, right? Similarly, look at this one. And okay, fine. This kind of situation is called ball is in local minima, because this is not a global minima. This is a local minima, right? Because if you take the ball to this position, the ball may fall back to this one, or it may overcome this one and go back to this. It is okay?
Yes, sir.
If the ball will cross away this hill and come to this one, if this kind of situation will be there, the ball will remain here at the end. And if the ball will come back to this position, then this will be global minima or local minima?
It is global.
It will become global minima if the situation will be like this. Okay. And look at this third image. And this image is clearly showing you unstable equilibrium. Why this is unstable equilibrium? Can you tell me? Like a person is standing on a very sharp edge of the mountain or the hill. So what will happen? Just imagine a situation. There is a very sharp tip on the hilltop, and you are standing on the sharp tip of the tip hole, a sharp tip of this hill, what will happen to you? You'll fall. A point will come, you may fall. Either you may fall in this direction, or you may fall in this direction. So that's why it is in unstable equilibrium, right? This will not remain. This will come back to this position, or this will come back to this position, right? And this position may be which one? Can you tell me? This position and this position may be which one? Global or local or both?
Can be both.
Yes, very good. This can be both, because I told you that if you are taking your system to unstable equilibrium conditions, it will again come back to either metastable equilibrium condition, or it will go to stable equilibrium conditions. It is not always true that your system will always go to stable equilibrium condition if you are taking your system to non-equilibrium condition completely, or unstable equilibrium condition. So that's why if the position of the ball is here, this is completely unstable equilibrium. If it will fall back to this one or this side, these positions you cannot define as a stable equilibrium or metastable equilibrium. This position may be metastable, may be stable. Okay. Similarly, this position may be stable, may be metastable. If the situation is like this, then it is obviously stable. But if the situation will be like this, after reaching here, then this will be metastable equilibrium. Now, this is a figure. This is showing not at equilibrium. See, a ball is continuously rolling down through the hill. That means it will dissipate its energy. The potential energy is converted into kinetic energy, and it is completely dissipating energy with its motion. So you cannot call it as a stable condition or stable equilibrium condition. So I have written here, ball is moving, showing system is continuously dissipating energy. It means the system is not in equilibrium condition. It is okay? I think this figure is clearly understood by everybody.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So whatever I have discussed, everything is written in this slide, right? The condition, see, if a system is dissipating energy, we cannot call it as an equilibrium condition. It is okay? If system continuously loses energy, it cannot be called as it is in equilibrium. You have to remember, if a system is continuously dissipating energy or releasing energy, you cannot call that system is in equilibrium condition. It is in unstable equilibrium condition or something else, right? But it is not in equilibrium, right? You have to remember that. And same point I have told, when for some system temperature and pressure is changed, it will either go to unstable condition, and further it splits into equilibrium condition, or if the material is taken to global minima, it may or may not remain in stable equilibrium condition, or may be moved to metastable equilibrium, right? Which already I have discussed. Now next slide, just have a look. Equilibrium condition for two different phases of pure iron. So if you remember, pure iron may remain in austenite form, may remain in ferrite form. Austenite form means it is FCC crystal structure. Ferrite form means it is BCC crystal structure. And this figure is showing you free energy versus temperature, right? Just have a look. At this temperature, which phase is having higher free energy and which phase is having lower free energy at this point? In between ferrite phase and austenite phase, which phase is having minimum free energy here at this temperature?
Ferrite.
Ferrite, very good, because the position of ferrite is here. You can see the ferrite position is here, means it is now this. And at the same temperature, the position of austenite is here. It has a minimum, it has higher free energy, right? Similarly, if you change the temperature from very low temperature to high temperature, and just check what is happening to the free energy of austenite phase and what is happening to the free energy of ferrite phase. Can you figure it out? What is happening to the free energy of austenite phase with increasing in the temperature? What happens to the free energy of the austenite if you increase the temperature to higher and higher level?
It is going down, sir.
It is going down. That means, yeah, this is the
No free energy.
yeah, it is decreasing. You just have a look. The the plot for austenite is this one. You can see at low temperature, the austenite have higher free energy. But the moment you are going to a higher and higher and higher temperature, the free energy of the austenite is decreasing, right? And it is minimum, suppose for at this point, or where it will cut. That is the maximum temperature where the free energy of austenite is minimum. Similarly, what happens to the free energy of ferrite with increasing in the temperature? Just tell me.
So it decreases. Free energy decreases.
What happens to the free energy of ferrite with increasing in the temperature? Just have a look. It is decreasing. Okay, that's fine. But relative to the austenite, what is happening? Just tell me.
Increasing.
Yes, relative to the austenite, you can see with increasing in the temperature, with relative to the austenite phase, the ferrite phase is having lower free energy at higher temperature, or it is having higher free energy at higher temperature, right? So basically, you can see that means if you carefully look, there is a point, intersection point, where the ferrite phase, where the austenite phase is intersecting ferrite phase. This is the point, intersection point. So at this point, what is happening to the free energy? The free energy of ferrite and austenite is same. It is okay. At the intersection point of ferrite phase and austenite phase, they have same free energy, right? So if two phases have same free energy, what will happen? There will be any phase transformation or there will be no phase transformation?
So the phase transformation will be at that point.
No. How you can say? If two phases have same free energy, there will be no phase transformation will occur. Because both phases have same free energy. So how there will be any phase transformation? But if a phase have higher free energy at that temperature, and at that temperature a phase have a lower free energy, then there will be a phase transformation. The higher free energy will transform into lower free energy phase. It is okay now? That means, suppose this is the intersection point at this point, where this is the temperature when both ferrite and austenite have same free energy. Now consider if you maintain a high temperature. From this point temperature, you maintain a high temperature. Then what will happen to the phase? Then if initial phase will be ferrite, it will transform into austenite. You understood my point?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, this is the intersection point. At this temperature, both phases have same free energy. If you go to a low temperature like this, suppose here, now you are at this point. So what will happen to the phase? Then austenite, just have a look. Austenite have higher free energy. So austenite will transform into ferrite if you are at this temperature now. Everybody understood my point now?
Yes, sir.
So that means I have three temperature. One temperature is the intersection point. So if you are at intersection point temperature, then there will be no phase transformation. Why? Because both phases have same free energy. Free energy of ferrite is equal to free energy of austenite at the intersection point, right? But if you are at a temperature below this intersection point, then what is happening? Then the austenite will transform into ferrite, okay? And because that means free energy of austenite is greater than free energy of the ferrite. That's why the austenite will transform into ferrite. And the interesting point is if you are at a temperature above this intersection point, so what will happen? Here you can see ferrite have higher free energy, but austenite have lower free energy. So ferrite will transform into austenite. I think it is clear to everybody.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, sir. So there is a concept called T0 temperature. You have to remember T0 temperature. It is TO kind, but you just see this is T0 temperature. So what is T0 temperature? Two phase of same composition. Listen it carefully. You should have two phase and they should have same composition in an alloy. Have the same free energy, are in equilibrium. So can you figure it out? What is T0 temperature in this particular figure?
The cross point.
Very good. So the intersection point temperature is the T0 temperature. So that means suppose here ferrite is one phase, austenite is one phase, and they are intersecting at this point, and at this point they are in equilibrium, right? They have same free energy, and the composition of ferrite will be equal to composition of austenite, for example. Then you can say this is the T0 temperature for ferrite and austenite phase. Okay. So now you can see phase transformation means the initial phase or the initial mixture of phase transformed to other phase or phases. This transformation occurs because the initial phase is no more stable under certain condition of temperature and pressure, which already I have told you, right? Now condition for stability of phase. For definite set of experimental condition. Here experimental condition means you are at given temperature and pressure, okay? Or you are at a given pressure, that is 1 atmosphere pressure, and you are at given temperature, different temperature, okay? So phase must be in equilibrium. If they are away from equilibrium, then it undergo transformation, right? So if you are taking your phase away from the equilibrium, then phase transformation will start. And thermodynamic equilibrium means a three equilibrium must be present, that is mechanical, thermal, and chemical, right? Now stability of a given phase is explained by available free energy. So this is the most important part. So how you can define whether your phase is stable or unstable? Just by measuring the free energy, right? Okay, and can you tell me how we represent free energy? How we denote free energy? That is, we call gives free energy.
G.
G, capital G, right? Yeah, capital G. So capital G defines the stability of a given phase. You have to remember, neither the entropy, neither the enthalpy alone. Just remember, neither the entropy S, neither the enthalpy, capital H, they define the stability of a phase. The stability of phase can be defined by the combination of enthalpy, entropy, and the temperature. That is free energy. Because, can you tell me how to represent free energy, capital G? G is equal to
Del H minus
capital H minus
T del
times entropy. Okay. H minus Ts. Okay. So can anybody define what is free energy now? Free energy. Energy is free. That energy is free. Free energy is the energy available in the system freely, right? Which is used to do some work, right? Now, as I told, okay, so now after a lot of discussion, can you tell me how you can define whether your phase is stable or unstable? A given phase is stable or unstable, how you can define? Just by looking at the free energy? Yes or no? Capital G, right? Whether the G is low or whether the G is high. If the G is high, then it is in unstable condition. If the G value is low, it is in a stable condition. Or if you want to measure the change in free energy, then how you can define whether the phase is stable or unstable? If the change in free energy will be negative, it is in what?
Stable.
If the change in free energy is positive, and if the free energy is zero, change in free energy is zero, right? These are the three conditions. Okay, so now I can express my free energy, capital G. Can anyone tell me what is this T and P? In round bracket, I have written T comma P. What is this?
Temperature and pressure.
Temperature and pressure.
Very good. Temperature and pressure. So why I have written G in bracket T and P?
Temperature and pressure is
Constant
constant.
pressure.
Constant temperature and pressure.
No. If you are representing temperature and pressure at the bottom, like this, for example, this one, pressure at the bottom, this is actually a constant pressure. This is not constant temperature and pressure. That means free energy is a function of temperature and pressure. What it means now? Free energy is a function of temperature and pressure. Can you people tell me whether free energy is constant or it is variable with change in temperature and pressure? If you change the temperature and pressure, the free energy will remain same or it will change? Or it will vary or it will remain fixed? It will change. Very good. So free energy is not fixed or it is not constant. It depends upon temperature and pressure. If you change the temperature, free energy will change. If you change the pressure also, the free energy will change. So that's why I have written free energy as a function of temperature and pressure. Similarly, you understand this H is a function of temperature and pressure. Here entropy S is also a function of temperature and pressure. Because if you change the temperature and pressure, all these value, all these functions will change. Can you remember this G, H and S are state function or they are path functions? Or they are state variable or they are path variables? These are basic things. Entropy, enthalpy, and free energy are state function or path function?
State functions.
State functions. Very good. Anybody remember what is the meaning of state function? How you can say this is a state function? Or how you can say this particular thermodynamic variable is a state function, this thermodynamic variable is not a state function? Or this or you can say this particular function is state function, this particular function is not a state function, it is a path function.
If it depends on initial and final.
Yeah. Sorry?
If it depends on initial and final points, then
yeah. State function means it only depends upon the initial condition and final condition of the system. It never depends upon the intermediate part. Fine. Or if you take different path also to reach from one condition to another condition or conditions, then this function will not change. It only depends upon initial and final point. You take any path to reach same destination. Suppose you start with some point, you end up with another point, and you take any path to reach at the another point, right? The state function will only depend upon the initial and final condition. It will never depend upon the path. Okay. And what is state functions or state variables? These are the variables which define the state of the system, like pressure, temperature, enthalpy, entropy, right? All basically defines the state of the system. System is in what state? Like at what temperature, what pressure, at what enthalpy, at what entropy, right? Anyways, so I can define my free energy as G is equal to H minus Ts, where H is enthalpy, T is the temperature, S is the entropy, and G is the free energy, right? Similarly, I can define my enthalpy. H is equal to U plus PB. So what is U and what is PB? Can you tell me?
Internal energy, pressure, volume.
Yes. So enthalpy is a combination of internal energy and pressure volume. This pressure volume is nothing but what? In another way, can you tell me? It is?
Work done.
Work. Very good. It is work actually. PV work, pressure volume work. If you are changing volume, the work will be different, right? Some people write PdV also or P delta V. PdV means a small change in volume is PdV. Pressure into change in volume, V2 minus V1. Or P delta V means P into V2 minus V1. A significant change in volume, right? So this PV is the work and this U is the internal energy, right? So enthalpy is equal to combination of internal energy U plus work or pressure into volume, right? And what is internal energy? Can anybody tell me what is internal energy? It's the sum of all the energy which is present in the system. It may be the kinetic energy plus potential energy. Suppose a system is having only kinetic and potential energy. So you have to combine kinetic energy plus potential energy, and this total energy is nothing but the internal energy of the system, right? But if you are considering other energy also, energy due to motion of electrons or motion of the atoms, that is potential energy, and kinetic energy because of motion of the atoms, right? So all these energies sum up to give you internal energy of the system, right? And the interesting point is the internal energy is very difficult to measure. So H is measured using a measurable quantity, that is Cp. So you have to remember, that means if somebody will ask to find out enthalpy of a given system, then you should not use this formula, because internal energy is very difficult to calculate. You cannot calculate internal energy, right? But you can calculate a measurable quantity that is called Cp. Anybody remember what is Cp?
Heat capacity at constant pressure.
Heat capacity or specific heat at constant pressure, right? Very good. So according to first law of thermodynamics, Cp is equal to del Q by dt at constant pressure. Everybody knows this formula, yes or no?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
Okay. Why this is del and why this is d? Anybody remember this concept? Or you can write d and a slash. You cut the d. In that way also you can write. Either you write del q or you can write d q, but in that d small d you have a cut. There is a slash. Anybody remember why this is del q or why this is dt? Why I have not written del t or dq? Nobody is answering. See, q is nothing but the heat. Heat is a state function or path function?
The
State
path
function.
function.
It is a path function. Whenever you want to represent a path function, you have to write del. It is okay. Or you can write small d and there is a cut, right? Slash. But temperature is a path function or state function?
It's a state function.
State function. So whenever you are representing a state function, you need to write d, not del. It is okay now? It is clear to everybody. So Q is the heat, which is path function. Here T is the temperature, which is state function, right? So Cp is equal to del Q by dt at constant pressure. Okay. So further I can write Cp is nearly equal to dH by dt. So what is this dH by dt? What is this H? This H is enthalpy, right? So can you people define what is enthalpy and what? Can you tell me enthalpy and this heat are same or different? Enthalpy and heat are same or different?
Same.
Different.
Different. Can you tell me how it is different?
Enthalpy is the heat change at constant pressure.
Okay, very good. But you can just have a look. This del Q is equal to dt, dH now. So they are same or they are different? Can anybody want to speak something about this? Here del Q and dH are same now. Cp is equal to del Q by del dt. Here Cp is equal to del dH by dt. Here
Sir,
del
but
Q. Yes, yeah.
sir, it is under constant pressure, so
Very good, very good. So you have to remember enthalpy is nothing but the heat at constant pressure, reversible work. This is the definition of enthalpy. You have to always remember. Enthalpy is nothing but it is the heat actually. But constant pressure, reversible work, right? So heat at constant pressure, reversible work is called enthalpy. So if you are working in a thermodynamic system and your pressure is constant, then you have to tell the heat is nothing but your enthalpy, not the heat. But if the pressure is not constant, you have to tell it is heat actually, not enthalpy. I think it is clear now. Cp is equal to dH by dt. So why we are taking Cp? Because Cp can be easily calculated by using calorimetry process. There is a machine called DSC, differential scanning calorimetry, right? Or differential scanning calorimeter. It is not in our department. It is maybe in chemistry department. You can measure the Cp value of any material by those. So since we can easily calculate Cp, we can calculate this dH by dt, enthalpy. We can easily calculate, fine. But we cannot calculate internal energy easily. I think up to this it is clear to everybody.
Yes, sir.
If my question is why this is not del H, why this is dH, how you will define? Why this is not del H like del Q, why this is dH?
The
Just
enthalpy is state property.
State
yes,
function.
because enthalpy is a state function, right? It is not a path function. So you are defining a state function means you have to write D. But if whenever you are defining a path function, you have to write del. Okay. Anyways, then now how to calculate enthalpy on the basis of Cp value, specific heat capacity at constant pressure. Okay. So we understand now dH is equal to Cp dt. As we know, Cp is equal to dH by dt. So dH is equal to Cp dt. So also I can write. So okay. So now I can calculate del H. So del H is equal to integral T1 to T2. This is the initial temperature, suppose T1, final temperature T2, Cp dt. So what is this T now? Can you tell me? What is this additional term T in bracket? Just few minutes before I told you what is
A function of time.
Very good. That means Cp is not constant. Specific heat capacity at constant pressure is not constant. It depends upon what?
Temperature.
Temperature. Very good. If you change the temperature, Cp value will also change. I'll show you different plots in the next class to make you more clear. So Cp in bracket T means you should not be confused. You can simply write Cp dt. Cp dt. No need to write this T. But you can also write T because Cp is not constant. It is a function of temperature. If temperature will change, Cp value will also change. I think up to this it is clear. So del H is equal to integral T1 to T2 Cp dt. It is okay. So now can you tell me what is the difference between this del H and this dH? Nobody is answering. What is this dH and del H? Both are enthalpy. But what is the difference? This is a small change in enthalpy, right? But this is a significant change in enthalpy. For a small change in enthalpy, we represent like this. When there is a significant change in enthalpy, we represent like this. So del H can be written as, you can write H2 minus H1. So H2 minus H1 will be integral of T1 to T2 Cp dt, right? Or if you want to find out H2, then H2 is equal to H1 plus this one. Okay. And I can write finally this expression. Enthalpy as a function of temperature is equal to enthalpy, the reference enthalpy plus T reference to T Cp dt. I think it is clear to everybody now. So this is the final expression. So basically we never calculate enthalpy. We always calculate change in enthalpy. Always. Similarly, we never calculate entropy. We try to always calculate change in entropy. Okay. Now we'll calculate entropy calculation based on Cp value. As I told, Cp value can be easily calculated. From that Cp value, you can calculate enthalpy and you can also calculate the entropy. So this small change in entropy ds is equal to Cp dt by T. Okay. You know all these expressions. So similarly, your delta S is equal to T1 to integral T1 to T2 Cp dt by T. Okay. Can you tell me why ds is equal to Cp dt by T? How this formula is coming out? This tells you about the relationship
From
between
del Q.
entropy, ds and dh. It is okay? ds is equal to dh by T. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So that's why ds is equal to dh by T means dh instead of dh you can write this one Cp. This one, just have a look. Sorry, this one. ds is equal to Cp dt, right? And ds is equal to dh by T. So that means ds is equal to Cp dt by T. I think it is clear up to everybody now. So you can calculate this one like this, and finally you can write del S is equal to S2 minus S1 in this form, integral T1 to T2 Cp dt by T. And similarly, if you want to find out S2, that is equal to S1 plus this one. And finally, if you want to find out entropy S as a function of temperature, you can take that is equal to entropy, reference entropy plus this one. I think it is clear to everybody. So that means final conclusion is you can able to calculate entropy, you can able to calculate enthalpy by help of Cp values, because Cp values can be easily calculated by using a particular machine called calorimetry or differential scanning calorimetry machines, right? So at the end, if you can calculate enthalpy and if you can calculate entropy and you know the temperature, then what you can calculate finally? Shall I repeat my question?
Repeat, sir.
If you can able to calculate entropy S, if you can able to calculate enthalpy H at a given temperature, then from this given things, what you can calculate now?
Heat capacity.
I told you have a knowledge of enthalpy, you have a knowledge of entropy now, and you
Sir,
know
we
the
can
temperature of the
calculate the
system.
Gibbs free energy.
The Gibbs free
You can
energy.
calculate the Gibbs free energy simply because our starting expression is this one. G is equal to H minus Ts. You know the temperature, you know the entropy, you know the enthalpy. You can calculate the free energy. So if you can able to calculate the free energy now, then what you can find out at the end? What is the conclusion?
Sir, we can tell about the
Stability.
stability.
You can calculate the stability. Very good. You can find out the stability of the given phase, whether the phase is stable or unstable. If the G is very low, it is stable. If the V is high, if the G is high, it is unstable, right? And you understand if the free energy is very high and system is unstable, then what will happen to the phase? The phase will transform to a new phase where the free energy G will be minimum. I think up to this it is clear to everybody.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I will end this meeting. If you have any questions, you can ask me.